about me. Probably one what I'm doing. Every day in the studio. Every day in the studio. Every day no fully shit. In the streets with the Yeezys on. In the streets with the hoodie up.
Play no games. We stomping on the track. I'm not gonna lie. I had a wild night. Socially distanced though. 85% of the time. I'll be legit. I ain't gonna cap. I would say I'm the Casanova Steal Your Girl favorite therapist shit. I ain't got it in me. I'm Robert. And if you look around, I don't want people to get weird. I didn't replace Koss. I know I have two lovely white men with me. It is not, they're not competing for Koss in his job. But,
who knows where it takes us here.
Exactly. You see, next time be here. Okay, Koss? No, none of this 1 out of 2. 2 for 2.
It's not too early out.
Yeah. But I have actually, how can I introduce this? I had small story. I had a best friend named Zach Barrett, which is not your name, and we were so close friends. And he fucking moves, family shit. Yeah. And it was so, lo and behold, when I went to go hoop one time, I met this cool cat named Zach, and like from jump, we clicked from a hoop standpoint, and like, I will just say this: 3 seconds on the clock. Game 7, Zach would pass me the ball, and he would let me fucking shoot because he had that much trust in me, and it was vice versa. And from there, it was like history. It was like the tandem. It was like needed. I'll give him, if he wants to be a fucking Luka Dame, and I'm his fucking Robin. Like I was fine with that because he knew how to lead me, and that's how I want to introduce my main man Z, and then I'm gonna need your help.
Okay.
I want you to help me introduce your friend.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Touching on that, I think that we like when you play basketball, it's like you're very like you can't lie. Like you're playing. It's an honest game. You can tell like how people are, and like from the jump, I think that you and I like just instantly clicked, and it was like for me. My shooters, passers, dribblers, my favorite dudes to play with are guys that are like hardworking, that just get boards, that are like competitive. Give me 4 of those dudes every time. And like I swear to God, hustle outweighs a lot of shit sometimes. So it's like, when we were playing together, it was like, yeah, this is gonna work. Like,
I have a couple basketball things I want to throw at you just a little bit later, but I don't want to be cheeky. I want to also introduce, because you helped me out with another special guest here in the building. He's a lifesaver.
Yeah. So when we started playing, I realized like your career field, and I instantly thought of my best friend Matt. He's a nurse. I guess you can introduce it. It's you're a psychiatric nurse. You have years of experience now. I remember having conversations with you in the past about what you wanted to do, and you went and did it. So it's like, to me, that's pretty impressive, and I always look up to you for that. So yeah, Matt Volk, here he is.
Hey guys, thank you, Zach. Thank you for the introduction. That's very thoughtful. I remember those days when we were talking about going back to school together, and we even talked about doing nursing together way back when.
Yeah, way back when.
Started our prereqs at PCC, and it all kind of took off from
right
there.
By Jeff, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello.
Yeah.
But after that we went our separate ways. You found your passion, I found mine, and we both took off on it. And so I think that was really cool. I think back then it was a big support to have you back then, for sure.
Yeah, it was like just like basketball, having that person to rely on with 3 seconds on the clock like that's important. And to have that connection or that like, I don't know, trust of like, this is what you're doing, okay, I can support that, I'm behind you, I'm here to listen, I'm here to help. It's male relationships. Maybe everyone doesn't, talk about that or understand that, but I think that's a big part of it, is like being honest with each other and supportive.
Mm-hmm. To go back on that basketball metaphor, I mean, Zach's always been my point guard too. You know, even back when we were 6 years old playing in little kid leagues and stuff. You know, I was always that hustle guy. I got the defense and the rebounds on point, but
get the boards,
I mean, I hit the backboard more than I hit the rim most of the time when I shot, so I get that. But Zach's always had faith in me. He always hyped me up, always kept me in the game, you know, and that's a friend for life in all aspects.
And like, you know, we definitely have to do this more like beyond the podcast, where like I just know like me and Zach click like that. I'm like, I know I can kick it with him like outside of like hoops. And like that's the crazy thing about it, because it's weird, because I was more like a 3 and D. I was a D and 3 guy for a little bit, and then I would have like offensive nights, you know, depending upon things like that. And then they pissed me the fuck off. So you know what I fucking did? Yeah. I got a D1 fucking trainer, and guess what? I trained for like 6 motherfucking months, and then I busted my finger, and then literally after when I recovered from my finger, the fracture of my finger, like literally the game started to slow down, and then it was like a 3-month stress. We're like, Robert's using his left hand a little bit more.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah. Well, okay, and then Robert's getting a little more consistent. Bitch, guess what? I'm better. And like it was so funny because Zach, for me, he was not even surprised. He was just like, okay, let's fucking do this. He's
of course. And you put in the work too. I know you were a tennis player, and that's very isolated. And also, like, to me, tennis is, you got to be fucking on it to play tennis. Like, you got to, it seems like whenever I watch tennis, like, they have unlimited stamina sometimes. And when they're so tired, they're still, it's who can go the hardest and obviously most accurate. But when you told me, hey, I'm going to go get a trainer and I'm going to work on this part of my game, like, I was like, I never see that. Like, I never, even growing up and, playing, I played a lot of basketball, and like a lot of guys had talent, and they just like, okay, I got it. That's it. I don't got to work on it. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, of course you're going to, like, I already knew that you were good and had potential, and like, oh, he's just got to do 1, 2, 3 things to get more involved with the sport because you grew up playing tennis. And it's going to come, and people are going to be like, oh, no. And they were.
Who's that guy? Who's that shooter?
In the spirit of working hard in the trenches.
Yeah.
I love my sweet revenge. Anywho, I can't wait to show you what I'm working on during quarantine. I want to, like, share some of the load because, Matt, we are kind of, like, in the same field where we're, like, twisted, sick cousins.
Yeah.
and like you work with a lot of mental health, and from one mental health professional to the next, even though we're in 2 different fields. I had the pleasure of working in like a medical field and a clinic. So I definitely understand the medical model more, and I appreciate that. And I just want to, 1, to say I appreciate your work that you're doing, and then 2, like doing it during COVID, and as a psychiatric nurse, I was wondering if you would just talk a little bit more about that and bless the people about what's life like that.
Yeah, I mean, COVID's been interesting. 2020 has been interesting. My personal situation with COVID and going on, I actually got hurt at work back at the end of the fall of 19, and so I've been kind of on and off and had surgery right at the peak of COVID. So I've been out for a little bit, but I was there to the start of the initial, kind of outbreak and everything. And with that, it was tough because working on an inpatient unit, it's a little different than your outpatient clinics. People are there, in their toughest times, in the highest crisis situations, because they've either attempted to take their life, had serious thoughts about it, and we're not in a safe place to go back into public. And so with that, there's a lot more precautions around things you can give patients to keep themselves safe as well, including masks. Unfortunately, with masks, they can become a strangulation risk pretty easily, or a self-harm tool. And because they have those little metal clips inside, the ear components, and it's tough because you want to keep them as safe as possible, but you also want to make sure they're not giving them tools to make an unsafe situation happen as well. And so it was tricky. It was tricky for us because we were on a mask shortage. So as a practitioner, we were getting people from all over the state of Oregon, and didn't always have a mask available, or had a policy that was saying, oh, bring your own masks. but in reality we needed the surgical mask or something.
Yeah.
So it was a real rocky situation at first.
Unit, right? Like the main one in Oregon.
Yeah, actually, our unit outside of Unity Hospital is the only inpatient unit for children and adolescents, and we're the only ones that take in kids under age 11. So it's very specialized, very niche kind of
Unity.
situation. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
So
oh.
it's totally different. I didn't know if you knew if I worked with kids or not. So it was a different type of psychiatry as well. So yeah.
Even more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they sent me a job offer. I was like, nah. At Unity. I was like, nah.
No.
Because I really want to like help.
No knock on Unity, but
Yeah, no knock on Unity. No. Like, because I feel like this is a great teaching point to like talk to people about the different types of psychology and therapy, where it's kind of like I could have went down that road, but I was more, and not saying you don't do talk or anything like that, but like I do more like talk therapy, and I do in Oregon they do like level B, level C, level D, like kind of like kids, and I don't know if you have that same language.
Not familiar with it.
So pretty much A is like not really restrictive, B, C, and then D's like this is a level D kid, like they need all the restrictive, where I assume you're dealing with, where it's kind of like as a person I had to figure out what type of therapist I wanted to be.
Gotcha.
And I worked in like male use day treatment, where like I was around psychiatric nurses and people like that, where it's kind of like I had to make that decision. For anyone who's listening who wants to like pick what type of therapy is, you have to pick what your calling is. And like I just have to say this again, because I knew for myself, doing that for about like, even though it was that male you day treatment, I knew I couldn't go that far because I got burnt out really easy, and I knew I had more capacity for what I'm doing right now. So I was just curious. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do what you're doing? Like,
I mean,
we went totally different ways.
That's okay. And actually, before we jump onto that too, just that you mentioned, the work that you do too. I also have to give a shout out to the therapists that we have in my unit, as well as the social workers. During COVID, during crisis situations, they're also on the front lines with us. They're in the codes with unsafe situations. They're there doing everything with us. And as well as the mental health associates is what they're called in our unit, basically the like mental health technicians kind of thing. So similar in that regard. They're the bread and butter. They're the ones that do all the hard work. I mean, we're there to safety plan, we're there to do meds, and we're there to do education. But all of my experience in education and learning and growth has come from the people that I work with. And so it's being able to sit with a social worker and talk to them and learn what they do day in and day out, and how I can facilitate that in my work too. It makes the whole thing streamline. And so that's kind of been the goal, and I just appreciate people that are in those fields more and more. And we can go down that tangent, down that rabbit hole down the road, because we could talk about with city of Portland, and they talk about defunding police and increasing social workers and other mental health technicians during crisis calls, things like that, where you don't necessarily need a police officer. I mean, that's a big topic to talk about down the road.
I was about to say, are we going there?
We could, but maybe we'll touch that later, because I do have some thoughts and feelings about that as well.
But
yeah, I mean, it takes a team.
It does. It's a team effort for sure.
1,010%.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely takes all of that. And what do you call it? I actually really, because I want to go there, but really quick for the people so they know why did you want to go down that road?
Yeah, sorry, to get back on that topic. So I got into nursing school. I had no idea what type of nurse I wanted to do. Similar to therapy wise, you got to pick that kind of niche position. Originally I wanted to do the ER, the whole intense high adrenaline, saving lives kind of thing. And I learned that wasn't what I wanted to do through clinical work. As I got into my rotations, that wasn't thrilling and fulfilling to me, but I actually started kind of following the people that were having psych issues as well as medical issues. And that comorbidity plays a big factor into their mental health too. Anybody with a medical diagnosis can easily have more of a mental health situation happen. And I think with that, I kind of fell in love with talking to those people and interviewing and using my words instead of just, checking on drip rates and what medications I'm giving and, vital signs, whatever, right? And I just kind of happened to fall into my senior practicum rotation where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no clue. I was like, do I want to do inpatient adult psych? Do I want to do, pediatrics? Because I love working with kids. Like, that's totally my jam too. And they just happened to find out that they offered this.
Damn!
And so I kind of was like, I'll try. Let me work with you guys. Yeah. And it was totally cool because it's not just mental health for kids and teens. Like, these are real human beings. And I think sometimes you need that parenting, that mentor support, just a peer even, because I'm pretty young compared to some of the other nurses there. And I connect with them on different levels because of, the culture that we live. I understand the music they listen to, the videos they watch, compared to somebody who's still, listening to something from like maybe the 80s, 90s, no hate on that kind of music, because all our music comes from there too. But I just, that closer connection with people. And I ended up leading a nutrition group where I taught them how to bake kale chips and taught them the differences, from complex carbs, simple carbs, proteins, fats, things that I learned in nursing school that I could also add into the mental health side of things. Yeah. Because we could go down a conversation about nutritional and mental health combination, and where that all plays a factor too, because what you eat makes a big difference on how you feel and who you
you're
are.
Coming back. That's a 30-40 minute conversation. Matt will be back, folks.
All right, I hear that.
And because I want to link us all, because we were kind of talking about this, and you were kind of alluding to it just a little bit with defund before we kind of go into like relationship things. I want to spend like at least like 5 to 6 minutes on this.
Yeah.
Like, literally, you're talking about community, right? And like our mental health community, and I'm just gonna speak from my perch, where it's kind of like I appreciate a lot of the things that are going on in our mental health community, but I feel like some of it are like cute talking points.
Oh, very much so.
Are very cute talking points, and those cute talking points, like, I feel like a lot of work is not getting done, and like I don't know how the perception of like how all of you, where you're talking like defunding the police, where like one saying defunding the police is horrible marketing,
right?
Because people just get lost in that, and like I'm getting better at learning marketing, but it's kind of like when will we honestly start paying attention to mental health and not just use it as a talking point in our jobs? Because if you are seriously depressed and you tell your boss, they can be like, that's okay. And then they're going to be like, when are you going to get these papers done?
Yeah. Oh,
so,
yeah.
Like, what do you guys think about
that? I'm similar to you. I think I'm similar to you where it's like, I have these expectations of like what should and could be done. And that's just not always the reality of what's going on. I think that, it's complex, but sometimes people try to solve problems in industries that can actually have like other agendas in them. But in this situation, I think that it's such a big, complex issue that the starting out, like, when Obama created Obamacare, like he didn't create that to be like, oh, this is it. He was like, this is 1A of hopefully 1Z, 2A of what we can get to as healthcare. But he had to start it, and a lot of people were like, oh, this is not good enough, or it's, wrong or whatever. But it was like, okay, this is at least the starting point, and like, I need people to help me move from A to B. So I'm with you though. I'll be like, well, this isn't enough. Like, we need to do more. Like, we need to do more across the whole board. But maybe the fact that we're leaning a way that we haven't before is a good sign.
Also, for the people, Obamacare, Medicare, same thing. Let's not get that confused. Yeah, right. Same thing. Yeah. Jimmy Kimmel tricked y'all like while ago about that. Just want to throw that out there. But what do you think about being like, what do you think? Should like, it's mental health for me? Like, I feel like there are a lot of good agencies doing what they're say they're supposed to be doing. But then again, I feel like it's just like a nice talking point, because if you go overseas, women have like all that long-term maternal care, and then you have paternal care, where even though where people don't understand, like that is that in its own entity, but it's like a red fucking string to mental health, where like you're giving a family an opportunity.
It's like a rainbow track. I mean, it's so vibrant that you've got to understand that that's such a connection there. I think the interesting component, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Of course.
I mean, you think about like food, shelter, like clothing, like the essentials to keep you healthy and safe, right?
Yeah.
Those things, if you don't have those, how are you going to be mentally strong and fit? How are you going to have any type of well-being up top, right? You're going to be anxious because you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You're probably going to be depressed just because of the situation you're in. And there's not really going to be any good coping skills because of the lack of resources I think we do have in public health. Before I got into the mental health side, I actually thought about public health nursing and how to do public outreach, right?
Yeah.
I got to do a clinical rotation of a low-income housing area up in Vancouver, Washington. And just seeing the people that come through the door, like there were kids that would come for after-school programs, you know, and so it's kind of like a babysitting, let the parents kind of take care of themselves too. And we would teach the kids, you know, we'd do homework help. And then we teach the kids, we do exercise, we do something, right?
This guy's fucking awesome.
I love what I do. This is the best thing in the world. And I think I'm with you on this where I want to change the world. I got to figure out how to do it though. I got to find that right niche, that right ability. Who do I talk to? What connection do I make to make it happen? And Zach and I have had, hours and hours of conversations about this. Like I throw him my ideas. We used to throw kind of like invention ideas or like, you know, what kind of business plan. Yeah. I was a business major before nursing also, by the way, too. So I'm marketing. I'm all about that too. So we can have conversations in the future about this.
He can do it all.
We can do it all, man. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think to get back on track with public health and mental health, there isn't funding for it right now. I did some research papers. I'm in grad school right now to become a nurse practitioner in mental health, and that's my goal is to probably still work with kids and teens because I think they're the most at-risk population that we have in Oregon right now, and I want to stay in Oregon.
Yeah.
And I think the issue with that is I did some research, and it was like 2016 or 17, I can't remember exactly. For every 1,000 people that we have in the state of Oregon, there's one practitioner or provider, either a psychiatrist, MD, DO, you know, or a nurse practitioner that can offer support and prescription, you know, prescribing abilities, whatever, right? 1 per 1,000 people.
That doesn't really seem like we're prioritizing mental health.
Correct.
Yeah.
That statistic alone right there should explain to you, as well as what suicide being the second leading cause of death in the U.S. alone.
I know
third, maybe.
Well, I know my therapist who actually listen to this or whoever, like the caseloads for one therapist per like agency for like particular where you go, where like I believe, and I may be tongue twisters, tongue in cheek about this. There we go.
There we go.
I believe that like at certain agencies, like you'll have like one clinician and you'll have like 40 people, and like literally in a 40-hour work week, do you really think you're gonna honestly spend that quality time with those 40 families? Now, I ain't gonna say I ain't been a part of that because I had to get paid.
Right.
but like honestly, am I doing my real job? Am I doing my real work?
Right. Or your potential.
You're doing what you can with the means that you have. And that's, I think, how I still sleep at night, because there's days where I feel like I'm not doing enough. And it's a lot of things that are out of my control. You know, with social work and therapy, there's a lot of people that don't have resources in rural communities. There's no therapist that can come see you. Blessed that we have Skype now and Zoom conferences, and we can do telehealth, right? Because that's a lot of opportunity for people that can't drive somewhere.
Become a big business.
Huge business.
I think as like an outsider or someone not in this field, like I work in the entertainment field, which is completely frivolous compared to what we're talking about.
Right. Well, but no, it's important still.
It's important, but it's, you know, it's a whole different type of like nobleness when I hear you guys say, you know, I haven't, you know, I work and maybe I haven't done enough sometimes. It's like you guys are in the field and devoting your like career and part of, you know, every day to this issue that is unappreciated. So I think that you might feel that way because it's set up in a way that isn't beneficial yet, or as it could be. But you guys are definitely doing your part, I think.
I will say this: just like in any field, there are great therapists. There are middle ground therapists, and then there's bad therapists, and then there's Robert. But and like no matter who they are, you know, even I can't speak too much on the bad ones. Hopefully the board and everyone takes care of that, do the due diligence that they usually weed themselves out. Yeah. It's kind of like I will say this: I per se do not want to be a martyr because I give so much of myself to other people, and That's not because I'm faking that. Like, that's like my natural ability and talent that I was blessed with. And I found a field where like I naturally give off that.
Yep.
And my thing is, I should be able to do that. And like, yo, I want to take courtside at a game. Now I don't have to have a balling ass salary, but like if I should be able to have like enough stuff where I'm putting stuff away where I can save.
Well, you'd think that in a society where like people ultimately matter, like that you'd want to invest in people. I mean, but I think, you know, humans have this ability to think short term instead of long term, and greedy. So we think of like, oh, what's for me? What's in my world, instead of the altruistic approach. But if we really did like invest in mental health and people's like social abilities and just benefits and health overall, then I think that long term we would have a better society, you know, and that could maybe lead to more money going into mental health because it's ultimately a bigger field because we're paying more attention to it. But I agree with you. It's like you'd want it with this field, especially. It's so important. You'd feel like, dang, like I'm doing all I can. Like, is there some sort of like benefit to this? Because what I'm hearing is like you guys sometimes feel like you're not doing enough, and it's like that is kind of discouraging, I imagine.
100%. I don't know about your experiences, but what we have issues with is placement for some of the kids that can't go back home to their families. And with like DHS, they're, you know, a federal but also state level, you know, institution. And I appreciate all they try to do and the efforts that they put in. You know, their caseworkers come to our place and they'll stay with them in hotels with any, you know, no rapport at all, and take them and try to do their best. And I think it's not their fault that they're, you know, that these kids come in and out of these hotels and don't find placement and can't get families that, you know, can take them in and create a family's, you know, environment for them. It's the state funding. We're closing down, you know, residential facilities left and right. We're closing down a lot of privatized things. Federal funding for the institutions that, you know, if they have Medicaid reimbursement, stuff like that, right? That's not enough. And so they don't make enough to sustain and you know, keep themselves open. And so there's nowhere for kids to go. And there's nowhere for, you know, people to create and thrive in an environment. And so what happens when you don't have those essentials like we talked about with Maslow? They can't sustain, they can't build, they can't grow. It's hard to do that. And so I think it all comes back to money. It all comes back to money. Can you create housing opportunities for people to have places to live? Can you create resources for people to go to in every community, not just say, you know, a well-to-do community, right? They're going to have outpatient clinics left and right in those places, a lot of private clinics, because that's where you go. That's where the money is. Everybody has insurance to pay for that. But what about the lower socioeconomic status places? Those neighborhoods don't have anywhere to go, and you have to travel, and most of the time you got to travel by bus or something else to get there.
Which, like, if we're going to be honest, is plotted in America.
It is. It's deeply entrenched, but that's,
we talking about red line? Oh shit! Carl's about to lose your job.
There's a lot to it.
It's consistent decades worth of chess moves to get this way. So unfortunately, it's going to take the same amount of time of chess moves in a beneficial sense. You know, I was going to ask you guys. So with the momentum that we see, kind of forced to see because of COVID and everything that's happening in the world with Black Lives Matter and racial injustice, do you guys see mental health continuing to be prioritized at home, in the workplace, or just individually? In your guys' field, because this is you.
Yeah.
No, I'ma wait till I get licensed to say what I want to. I work for an agency. Let's just say this.
Yeah. Are you optimistic?
For myself, because what I'm gonna put into this world is literally what I'm doing right now. Because I know I'm a micro level therapist, and like I know I can only affect 24 to 30 people if I'm doing private practice, because when I have my family, I'm like, like I said, I will not be a martyr, because I want to be here to walk with everyone to whatever promised land, or, you know, to pass the baton off, where it's kind of like, I had to think to myself, what can I do from a meso to a macro level? That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing those other stuff, where it's kind of like, I would say one of my goals and dreams is to build a, like, not funding clinic, but like a health clinic, but it's with high quality therapists, and not trying to say that any like graduate students don't do quality work, but like a lot of my mentors and things like that, and there's no knock against them, but it's kind of like that quality therapy, they ask for 120 bones an hour. And like it makes sense because like I'm learning the back end of insurance and like things like that, or like you know, the cuts of money they're not getting but what they're getting, and like I'm learning to be paneled and I think I'm gonna talk about paneling maybe a little bit later. We'll see how that goes. But like I think having a clinic where like in a business strategy where I'm doing a lot more partnerships, where like if you go to floor 1, you have, you know, acupuncture, you have all these different things where it's kind of like this.
That's exactly what you talked about.
Yep, bro.
I just want to have that. I just want to have that in multiple communities where like a fucking Latin person, if they want to see a Latin therapist or a pediatric nurse or doctor that is of their race, that makes them feel comfortable to get what they need.
Yep.
I want it to be like, go to floor 3.
Yeah.
That's where most of our bilingual or like, you know, multicultural, where it's kind of like, this is a place that's going to serve you.
Right.
Like 1,010%, not just like all the other ones where like, and strangely enough, I believe there has to be someone in the private sector, like someone behind the scenes boss, where like, all right, I have all this power. I'm going to choose to not do what everyone else has done. I know I can destroy all these people, get a golden parachute, do all these magnificent things, but I'm going to choose to be like, you know what, I can eat off a meal, and that's all I want. I can do much more, and I think if I'm in that position, I'm going to make better business decisions where like I'm still going to be able to have a decent lifestyle, but as a private owner, I'm gonna be like, no, we doing this up to the best of our abilities.
So I guess that's where for you too, is that where the optimism comes from? Is like not in the field that you're the system that you're in, but in like changing it.
I think you hit the nail on the head. We're the change makers. We're the ones with that passion, that drive, right? We're the ones that care more about the community and the people that we're around than ourselves, and that's hard to find. I mean, like you said, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to like give everything to everybody and then not have enough money to have a home and a car and a family and sustain that family, right?
Yeah.
I would love that, and maybe a vacation every once in a while. You know, those little things that give you that mental boost too. But what I really want to do is, and Zach and I have talked about this, is finding that way to lobby, finding that way to get that funding, right? You got to have that pedestal, that soapbox that matches what you're trying to get out of it. And that's part of the reason I'm going back to school to be a nurse practitioner, is because I think, one, nurses are pretty trusted and they're understood to be educated and know what they're talking about.
Yes,
but to be that next level as a nurse practitioner, I feel like that can get me talking with people from the state, from the federal level, and understanding what I can contribute and how I can help with my experiences working with people in different communities, help make that happen for them and help give them that opportunity to have the same resources that people in other communities do.
I'm going to speak to, and this is all facts. I mean, you know, all feelings, no facts. Thank you, Flagrant 2 podcast. All feelings, no facts. Where it's kind of like, and please fact check me. I believe like capitalism in our lifetime, and I've made peace with this, I'm not gonna see anything different. I will always be in capitalism, and like I liked Andrew Wayne's like all right, universal like
was it
money,
$1,000 a month?
$1,000 a month. Like I like inherently get that, and like I like something new and different. But I think for me, would like really like change. Like I just like pieces of it. Where like
That's
I'm
interesting,
like I would take some of it to like, but that's not.
But do you think it's maybe because it's like, I don't know, if I think of like this, when I first heard the $1,000 a month, or was it a month or
it's something like that.
Something a month. And I thought, okay, $1,000 a month, like, is that going to replace welfare, or is that going to be added on, or are people getting excited about it because they don't have any more faith in the system to like provide for them? It's like, you know what, give me the $12,000 and I'll figure out how to make myself better because you're not helping.
I think it's like a combination of the two of what you just said. It's like weirdly enough, I feel like this is what happens when you active listening. Because I was like, I was gonna say that. Then
you're focusing though. You're focusing. Yeah.
This is active listening when you. I literally.
It'll come back.
I guess my whole point bringing up Andrew Wayne or what I was trying to go with that was just kind of like Fuck. You know what? I fucking forgot about it. But anywho, you know, I think just having a variation of that to give people Now I had a whole fucking great point.
Let's see. It was Andrew Wang, and then you're saying.
I just like the piece of like giving like universal like that like. Oh, because I was gonna connect it with like Maslow's like hierarchy of needs, where you're kind of like giving like that equity, where like you're giving someone an opportunity, but actually, fuck it, can't remember it. This happens when you active listen, when you listen to not respond and just listen to listen.
That's good though.
So,
that's
but
good.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
So ultimately, it's you guys are in a system that is truly capitalist, like you were saying, like it's always going to be that way, and America seems that way too. So is it, like Matt was saying, something you guys have to change on your own without sitting there and being like, how do I finesse this system? It's like, no, fuck that, I got to create a new branch of it.
Or buck it completely. I think, you know, we're in such an interesting culture with technology, with social media. I mean, our president lives off of Twitter. No other president in the world does that, I don't think. Fact check me on that one. But I don't think anybody else uses social media as a platform to communicate to their nation. Just throwing that out there. But I think the beauty of social media as well is that we can use it for different ways. Get what we need out of it, right? It's a tool. It's still a tool at the end of the day.
Sure.
And I think there was that social dilemma thing that came out on Netflix not too long ago.
Yeah.
It was a documentary,
popular.
trippy as hell.
Yeah.
But it's what you use out of it. It's how you use social media. And I think I've thought about this with ways to create some type of system change. You got to get people on that pedestal already, people in positions of power. How do you communicate to them and use their status with your vision to create change?
And that's where I was like, I want to become this dark hero, and the dark hero like holds the power of capitalism, like Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
If Jeff Bezos like, guess what? We all need this. You know what the lawmaker is going to be like? You got $3 billion. You got most of the wealth. Of course, we're about to switch and do that. And seeing that, since that's not going to change, my thought is like, all right, since we're treating corporations like people, I'm just going to choose and show kids and everyone else where it's kind of like, yeah, you can be ahead of your own business corporations, but you decide what you're going to do with that, because with your business decisions, your skills, you're going to be able to affect so many people's lives. And my thing is, are you going to be a great CEO? Are you going to be a basic CEO? Or are you going to be a different CEO? And being a different CEO is being like, yo, do you really need all that? Like, look what happens when you put the things that you would have, the Ferrari or things that we all romanticize, and you put that into something else. I'm not saying you can't eat.
Right.
But it's kind of like showing people you can do things differently. Yep. And I think that's where, like, I've romanticized myself, where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be different. Like, because I can't change the system in itself, or I'm going to go against it, and I'm going to show people a different version of that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I think that's also part of it, you know, the capitalism side of things. I love business. I love marketing. I love entrepreneurship. I want to use that skill and education that I got previously to nursing and throw that in there with the mental health and nursing aspect, right? And like you touched on, having that almost like holistic clinic that you can go to, and you can go get acupuncture, you can go get nutritional education, you can go get a massage, you can go talk to a therapist, you can go get, you know, reproductive care services, right? Mental health, it's all combined. You're a whole body, your mental health and your medical health is combined with your body too. It's all one thing. You're one human being. And I think if you can do that, as well as share, you know, have somebody from a different culture that can have their comfortability of having somebody, a provider in that same culture. An option. You don't have to, but if you would like that and you feel more comfortable, why not? Why not provide that to somebody? And I don't think it's exclusion by any means. It's inclusion to everybody in every sector of life. And I think that's what makes the change for sure. And I want to do that same thing. I want to find that ability, find those areas, maybe leasing buildings. How do you get in with a property management company and you find different areas throughout, you know, the Portland metro area or wherever, right? And you create those spaces, and then you find a team of people. Hey, we're looking for this team. Maybe, you know, like, was it Western Psych or somebody has, you know, Spanish-speaking primary providers. Maybe you can network with them and you can bring them over 2 days a week or something to your space and utilize that together, right? Like, why not be a team? Eat together, eat at the same table.
Yep.
Just, changing the mentality. We all can eat. Like, it. Yeah. But Gentlemen, this went down a tube that I was not expecting. Like, I'm awake now. I'm like, all right, I gotta make sure I know what I'm talking about.
I mean, we had like a little bit of different topics, but I kind of like this stuff more.
Yeah. I was about to say, I want to make sure we leave some time because, what do you call it? Because I just will say this, I didn't also just to have, Matt on, obviously, because, for his expertise and skills. I just didn't have, Zach on for, nice, pretty face for y'all to look at. But
I mean, that is a pretty face. I'm not gonna lie.
hey, whoever's watching, it's okay. He got a girlfriend.
I'm off limits.
He's off limits. He's taken. And I actually just wanted to really get into, like, one of the main reasons besides our relationship of why I wanted to have you on is because I want to create space also for men to talk about relationships and talk about these things because the full level of emotionally intelligent dude is when you unlock that emotional side. And it was weird, it was like 6 months ago and I don't know what possessed me. We were just talking and I was like Z. I was like Jimmy Buckets because he's my Jimmy Butler. I don't mind being Duncan. I don't mind being the Dragon. We gonna get the win no matter what. Yeah. And like when you were opening to me about your relationship and it was like mad it was like a book. And I was like, people need to hear exactly what the fuck you're talking about, like your journey. And I don't think we'll ever, have enough time to get to that on tape, obviously. But could you bless the people with?
I give the Spark Note version, for sure. It's like, first of all, I think that playing basketball, I don't really have I'm competitive as well, very competitive. So there's that killer mentality. So maybe it's a little bit of going through that war and then being like, okay, here is actually how I am. I feel like I'm pretty introspective and have grown more and more. But yeah, previously my personal life, I was in a long-term relationship where, like many people, I'm sure, you get together at a very early age, and some of your faults or your weaknesses are taken as who you are instead of can I adjust or grow or whatever. And that can obviously lead to issues. It can lead to toxicity. It can lead to sticking around. In my personal story, it led to trying to make it work even when all the writing's been on the walls for a while, because you develop this kinship or this close bond with someone at such an early age and you grow together.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different, obviously in that relationship it played its course and eventually it was over. But then it prepared me, and before it prepared me, there was much needed single time where you needed to just put yourself first. You needed to realize that what are the things you want to challenge yourself in, what are the things that you're good at, what are the things that you're not good at, and how can you get better at those things and be okay with the process of it. I think that some people have weaknesses and they see that they're I haven't been good at this, or it's going to take a while for me to grow. And that's why I respected you going and training so much, was because most people wouldn't even do that in their personal life, let alone a hobby. So it was wow, this person is a very introspective, hardworking man. And that was inspiring. So it's wow, okay, that's something that we can connect on. It's something that I've seen in myself. So so when that single time's through and you've kind of grown or given yourself the ability to be the person you want or close to it, I'm very much a believer that I'm never going to be exactly the best version of myself, because there's a tomorrow and there's a tomorrow and there's a tomorrow.
That's clippable. All right.
Deep.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
You can really have confidence and like yourself and love yourself, and you should. But there is room to grow always, I was listening to I think it was J. Cole or someone, he was saying you get to a point where you get the things you want, and most people think of monetary things or materialistic things, and then you realize that filled a little bit of it, but there's more and more and more. And like finding the thing that like really serves you, like love and relationships. And to me, it was like, that was always it. Like I was never materialistic. So as I worked through my single time, and got to a moment where I was like honestly comfortable with just being who I am and by myself, that's when universe plays interesting games and presents you with situations where it's like, hey, here's what the hard work was for. And thankfully for me, like that's what I was rewarded with my beautiful girlfriend now, and loving, and just everything that I felt like I could work with or that I didn't deserve, like fell into my lap. And it took a while for me to like realize, like, no, you deserve this. Like appreciate this love, take this love. Like don't be scared, don't run away from it. And that was with working on myself for a long time. So that's what I mean is this whole getting better and better is I worked a lot to get myself to a situation where I was like ready, and I still had to be ready after I got there. So it's just that kind of that constant growth in yourself, and just realizing that, like, I don't know, I'm a big believer with like working through your worst night. Like a lot of people just call it in, take a break, whatever. Like fuck it, challenge yourself and see if like the hardest nights or the hardest times you have, if you can't find a way to move through it and be better after it. And that's always been my mindset. And you know, I don't know who's up there watching or helping, but like it worked out, and you know, I am grateful for it.
If this don't get him some waffles, I don't know. I don't know if this get him some waffles.
That's
like,
brownie
and
points
get out
right
of here. Yo, like, I have to say this again. Like, that is so clippable. Like, that will be an entire clip that I will broadcast multiple times, because like I vibe with you so much, and also thank you so much. The reason why I train to get good, 30%, because like I hate when people laugh at me, and I was like, I bet I got you motherfuckers. And then 2, it's kind of like, weirdly enough, like when I work out, it went from, oh, I was fat, then it went to like, oh, I'm trying to, you know, look good for other people, and then it went to like, oh, what am I really working out for? And then lastly, one of the things that really gets me through my workout is like I'm working out for other people, where I'm like, if I'm as this strong, I can be there for other people. Where it's kind of like, believe it or not, because I know Zach was one of the people counting on me. Not even before he even knew I was training. Just like he believes in me. It was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna be good enough for like when he's getting double teamed, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna cash this shit. You can count on me. Yeah. Like it was getting good for that, and I would just say like, yo, like this is like, I don't know how you all are feeling or you, Matt, but like I literally have goosebumps right now, because literally the journey that he's talking about is like what I want people to like go on. And I'll even say for myself, because we were kind of talking about this, because you know I'm embracing my singlehood, where I feel like I'm doing enough work and things like that, where I'm kind of like, one of my friends told me this, it's not jealousy, it's admiration, where I admire that, where I'm like come on God, I put in the work, I'm doing this, I'm a fucking like marriage counselor, like let like this shit like match up for me, like what's going on. And it's kind of like, no, like it's still not my time just yet, right. And I'm still in my ninth, which is okay. And it's kind of like when you see other people, because I get a lot of energy seeing other people being happy and in love and stuff like that, it's kind of like that admiration. And like I want to give people this perfect gift from you that I really wish there's would be other things like you could drop for us, but it's kind of like, it's like literally like what he just said is like what people are so afraid to do. And that's when you stop, you know, gimmicking that, you know,
No, I think you're exactly right. It's that fear. I think fear is such a big component with relationships as well. Luckily, Zach and I have known each other since we were 5 years old, since kindergarten days. And I've seen him, you know, with that relationship, and it was from a pretty young age all the way up until, you know, a few years ago. And with that, I mean, he's a giver. He puts trust in you, and he gives. And he's always been that way with, you know, friend relationships as well as, you know, an intimate relationship, right? And I think part of that, and I don't know, you know, we kind of talked about it a little bit when there were issues back in the day, was that trust and fear into if we do take space, if we break up, if we do this, what's going to happen next? Do I trust that something good is going to happen afterwards? Do I have fear that bad's going to happen? Am I ever going to find love again? Am I going to be single for the rest of my life? Is single actually that fun?
And
and
don't
there's
get me,
a lot to it.
Don't get me wrong, like going through that like I think you put it right, like you're going through the night part of being single, and it's like, yeah, there's tons of times where it was, you know, am I going to find something I want? Thinking about what I want, fantasizing, prioritizing, and then letting go and coming back to it. And it's like, yes, that happened along the way, but it wasn't like the only thing that was going on. But I would say after a while, until it got to the point where it was like, I've thought about what I want. I've committed to, like, you know, I guess looking for it or just being open to it. But hasn't, you know, I was single for 3 years before I found the relationship I'm in now. It was like, that's a long time to go with thinking like, well, is it going to happen? Is it not? And it wasn't until I stopped thinking about it and being like, you know what? If it doesn't, I'm right here. Yeah. And then it came up. So
here's like the sick twisted thing with me. I've been through that before, where I did like I was off for 3 years, and then I got into like my last long term relationship, and like, you know, it's fucking fun. It's fun. Like I was literally looking into marriage with that, and like now I'm kind of, I would say a little spiraling, but like with like the time we have left, the 2 points I really want to like link is like we're talking about like fear, loneliness, because I feel like that's a very big component in being like alone, where like, you know, hey, I'm a nerd. Nerds are cool, geeking out. Oh, so in Naruto, in like one of the Naruto movies, like really quick, pretty much his parents are dead. If you know Naruto, whatever. So pretty much all the other ninjas were getting promoted, and their families were there, and like, we're gonna promote you to be a shinobi, blah 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 blah. And then Naruto doesn't have a family, and he's watching all that shit, and then like he lives alone, and like his sensei that knows the situation, he was like, hey sensei, you're gonna promote me? He's like, no. And then like he went back home, and like he fucking like opened his door, and like you saw like the fucking depression on, he's like so sad, and he was like, and he said out loud, I'm home. And like he always says welcome home to himself, because like he's the only person there. Right. And then at the end of the movie, you know, chick goes back, and he's the sensei, like lights are out, he went back home, and he's like, welcome home, Naruto. And I'm not gonna lie, I got a little choked up. I was like, and it's kind of like being in singlehood now, where it's kind of like, I'm not even in camp. I do the same thing, because I live in my house by myself right now, where it's kind of like, I say welcome home to myself, because I'm dealing with a lot of that. Yeah. And like, I don't care if no one says, like, guys need to talk about, like, it's okay to like have your little black book and things like that, but like after a long period of time, if you're not thinking about like, okay, does this person actually really like fuck with me? Because it's different like when you're actually going through your shit in, you know, in the ward, or, you know, you're going shit where it's kind of like when you're home and someone's actually genuine about like, how the fuck are you doing?
Oh yeah. And that's, I think that it can be unfortunate that like people are in relationships where like it doesn't give them that, and I've been in that side of stuff, and having like the relationship I'm in now, where it's like it feels like a cherry on the topping. It's like I'm out here talking with you guys, and I know like when I go home I'm gonna be with like my favorite person in the world, and it's like it's this balance of like, hey, like you put in the work and the introspection to get where you are, and oddly enough you'll look back and see those nights where you're like, hey, welcome home, or nights that I had where just working and just like chilling by myself and doing my own thing, and you'll see those, and those will kind of be inspiring at the end of the day, because that is like the journey that got you there.
Okay.
They'll be hard, and then they'll be inspiring. So like, give yourself a chance to be inspired, you know? Like, do the work.
Ooh.
Give yourself that chance. I think having trust in yourself, going back to that trust and fear, having trust in yourself and knowing that if shit hits the fan, you still can find a way out of it. And you can still find a way to grow and succeed and be positive. You might not know what's going to happen. It might be an ass-backwards route that you're going to take. But you'll get there at the end of the day. And I think knowing that you have that ability and that drive, resiliency to get there is huge. And I think that fulfills, you know, a relationship. If you're having a tough time with somebody, your partner, and you think this is it, well, what do you have trust in that ability to maybe find a way to fix those issues and work on those issues together, or are you just like, I've been down this road before, fuck it, I'm done? Because that's happened. I mean, I've done that before.
Yeah.
I've had a relationship when I was really young, and things were good, and then we kind of just lost that connection. And I thought, well, this is it, I'm done. Let's move on, let's find something else, because I missed that connection. And I didn't think about, maybe I should work on that connection. How do we re-spark that? How do you find that connection again? I was young and naive and just was like, well, what's available? What's on the other side? That whole is the concept of the grass is always greener, right? There's other grass, but your grass, you take care of that grass, you water that grass, you let the sun hit that grass, it's going to be the best grass you've ever seen in your life. And I think you always need to have that perspective. What do you put into it to make that space yours?
Yeah.
Or,
And no, 1,010%. And I would just say, we have like 2 to 3 minutes. Right. I would just say, for the both of us, all of us, I feel like as dudes, we have to have this space because like whole phases where it's kind of like, we know in our society, because we're male-driven society, blah, 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 we can slay bunches of women and we won't be looked, and, women are looked as all this other stuff, where it's kind of like, just as much as, that is a thing, we have to like destroy all of that, destroy that male gaze, because women have something that we don't work on, is that emotional intelligence. There's a reason why they mature faster than us, because they fucking get shit. Where it's kind of like we have to be more tapped in with this by having circles about like, yo, I failed at this, or I sucked at this, or I should have not done that girl like that, and I was wrong for that. Maybe I should step the fuck up and go say something to her, because I'm not going to interrupt her process down the road or have her question herself. And I think we don't have a lot of male representation talking about like, I failed, I shouldn't have done this, or like I did this, and like I feel like definitely having you guys back on again, where like we can definitely go. I would definitely want to go further with that. Because I think the one thing I want to just drop for everyone is like, oh fuck, the fucking listening thing again. I was like, I want to say that. Fuck. I was just talking. What the fuck?
Just tell them to active listen. That's important.
Actually, can I jump in real quick, and it might spark you on that?
Yes.
Active listening, right? I mean, in our jobs, we have to active listen in order to get anywhere with anybody, build rapport. Hear the full story. Don't jump to that conclusion or ask another question while they're still speaking. You get that full detail, right? And I think, full disclosure, when I was learning how to be a good partner, I was really bad. Nobody taught me how to be a good partner when I was younger. When you're in high school, nobody says, well, you need to work on listening to that person, right? You need to work on whatever. And I didn't know that. And so I went through relationships, as a teenager and a young adult, where I just kind of did what I wanted and fulfilled my needs. And if that person was along for that ride, then great. And if something happened, dump them to the side and I'll find something else. Not that it was always going to happen that way, but that was kind of that mindset. And I think when you find somebody that you want to build with, you need to learn how to have those skills to fulfill their needs as much as your needs too. And learning how to active listen, learning how to be there and be present for a conversation, and not just share what you want to share, but listen to their bad days, listen to their part of it. Sometimes you listen just to be there and listen and be that ear. Sometimes they want advice. I had to learn.
I've talked to so many dudes about this. It's 2 different things, bro.
There's 2 completely different. And so what I do now is, if we start to engage in a conversation about a bad day that my partner's having, I ask them straight up, would you like me to be an active listener and just be present for you, or would you like me to give you advice?
Wait. Can you say that shit again, please?
So as of lately, because this is a conversation and issue that me and my partner had, and we've been together for 6 years now, and she's the person I'm probably going to marry. Like, this is, everything's set in stone, knock on wood, wherever that wood is. She's the love of my life. And I think we've gone through so much learning to be a couple and be partners with each other, that it's just been crazy growth for both of us. But one of the biggest things is learning that aspect of when you need to be listened to. Do you just need somebody to be there and be present and be supportive of that? Or do you want somebody to help solve that issue? And I was always the problem solver. I would be like listening to this issue going on, and I would cut her off sometimes and be like, oh, I bet you could do this and fix it. That's not what she wants. She just wants to tell me what's going on, be affirmed of what's happening is kind of shitty for you, and be together. And that's it. And that can build a relationship so much faster than anything else. Silence sometimes can be better than any advice, and just being present. And that's my word of advice.
The wise man once said nothing at all, right?
Exactly.
Man, he trying to get him some waffles too.
I need my waffles, man.
Get out of jail free card. Well, what do I get? I don't even know. We'll just say this. That was an excellent outro. I don't think I want to put any cherries on the top with that. Or actually, the only cherry I'm going to put on the top is, fellas, this will just always be an ongoing thing where we're going to forever grow. We're going to forever want to, be the ultimate man. And the ultimate man is being able to sit with your shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that shit sitting is like, oh no, I don't look like this and all this. No, it's like what's going on in your mind. And if your mind is like, if you take value of like, oh, this is how many people I've done, or like this and like that, you are living wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's about what you breathe into other people. Like, people remember, well, how does that fucking Drake line say? It's kind of like people forget or remember what you do. It's really not Drake, but like they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you make a person feel genuinely, because people can feel that shit genuinely, like I'm there, or like I want, or that desire.
Yeah.
Your partner feels that. Your partner feels that. My future partner, hopefully she's reading a book, or something.
Hopefully she's listening to this podcast.
No, she's not. There's only like
Not yet. Anyways.
But no, I just want to say this. I appreciate you, gentlemen. Thank you all for coming on the show. Like, I'm fucking up now, man.
Well, I think it was a good hour. Hopefully, people got some.
I got some clips. I got some clips.
And I think that we all can realize that it's okay to have these conversations as males, especially. Like, I know Matt and I've had a lot of these, but I can't say that a ton of my other friends have. So it's a rarity, but it's very helpful and progressive.
It's surface level. This is surface.
I think it's creating that comfortable space, that fear of being either, I've lost my words too, judged on whatever you're saying, or maybe that person doesn't have any experiences similar to you, so they can't give you any advice. Mm-hmm. So what's the point of talking to them? Yeah. But sometimes you need that space. Even if, like, Zach and I have conversations about an issue, he might not know exactly how to help me per se, but we'll problem solve it together and we'll hash it out.
Yeah.
And we've done that numerous times, and it's always been successful. But it's because I trust him and I'm not afraid to be vulnerable to him.
Exactly.
Vulnerability is the word of the day.
Ooh.
But what I need y'all to do is smash that like button,
Yes.
comment, subscribe, turn on notifications. Oh my gosh, I hate doing this. I gotta do that more because
All those industry professionals pick Rob up, man.
oh my gosh, the editor's like, you gotta say that more. Like, comment, subscribe, explosions.
Like, people know what they're
all over the view.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you both.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me come and visit and check this out, man. This was a wonderful time, and I think, Rob, I don't know about you, but I feel like we've got a connection now too, and I look forward to doing this again with you guys for sure.
No.
100%.
They will be back, folks. Mm-hmm. This will be great. This has been Play No Games with all cat. Oh, whoa, he's gonna push me. There's something in my throat. This has been Play No Games without cost. But I have these lovely gentlemen. Like, comment, subscribe. I have a lot of new shit that I hopefully will be released with this video. Maybe a new banner. Who knows? I'm spending that money. All right. This has been Play No Games.
Probably wondering if I think of you. Sorry, I'm for the bag right now. Yeah, I'm for the bag right now. Yeah, for the bag that I never had. Yeah, you probably mad right now. Yeah, I got a 2-piece now. Shit, I think they call them groupies now.